I wanted to demo a few miscellaneous tools that I use in my work. The first two I've been using for a while. The last one I found out about recently, and I had a use case for it recently, so I wanted to share that as well. The first one is FCF. Let me show you the homepage for that. This is a command line fuzzy finder. You can use it in your shell, and it gives you a list of options, and you can fuzzy match on those options. So you can use this for a few different things. The thing that I use it for is for searching through my command history. So let me show you that. So as Gabriel shared in the comic, you can use the up and down arrows to sequence through your command history. You can also use Control-R to search through your history. Let me just start a new bash shell to show you the vanilla Control-R experience. So if I push Control-R, then I can search through my history. So I use that a lot, but then I found out about FCF, and FCF kind of enhances the Control-R experience. So let me push Control-R now, and now it gives me a list of commands in my history, and I can scroll through this, and I can also try to match my commands. And I tend to use some long commands, so this helps me to keep track of my commands and find them. And I did delete a bunch of things from my history for this. So that's about it for that. The next thing I wanted to show is Magit. Let me show you the homepage for that. This is a Git client inside Emacs, and I know not a lot of people use Emacs, but I thought I'd just demo interactive rebase with Magit, and then you can use this in your own Git client if you want to. So let me open up this repo. I created these fake commits in here for the demo. Each of them just has a single change. So to start interactive rebase, you move your cursor to the commit that you want to start, and then you push R for rebase and I for interactive. And it gives you this list of commits, and you can do various things with these. One of the things you can do is reorder the commits. So with option J or K for me, I can move this, and then I can push C to apply those changes, and now this commit 5 is in between 3 and 2. If I push RI again, I can move this back. Another thing you could do is edit the commit message. So I push R for reword, C, and then I can edit the message, C, and then that message is shown here. Probably the thing that I use the most is squashing commits together, because I tend to make a lot of small commits and then I'll squash them together later. So if I wanted to squash these last 3 together, I can do S and S here, and then C. And then you can use these messages if you want, or write something new. And now there's 3 commits, and then this one has changes 3, 4, and 5 in it. So that's about it. You can also delete commits by pressing D, and so now that one is gone. You can also edit the actual contents, like the code changes, but I've only done that one time, so I'm not going to demo that. So that's about it for that. The last thing I wanted to show is ast-grep. So let me show you the homepage for that. So this is a code search tool that's aware of syntax, and a lot of search tools like grep will search line by line, but ast-grep uses a library called treesitter that parses your code into a syntax tree, and then you can search using those various parts of the syntax tree. So you could search like only within a function body, or only within a parameter list, or for a Boolean expression or whatever. So it has some use cases here on the home page. This first one is looking for this particular pattern in JavaScript/TypeScript and replacing it with this optional chaining operator. And this is the command used to do that. You can also use it as a linter if you set up some rules beforehand and run them like in your CI pipeline to avoid getting certain things in your code base. And then the last thing is it can be used as an alternative to code mods. And these are the languages that it supports out of the box. It also has documentation for adding custom languages, and I had to do this because my use case was for GraphQL, so I added that using the documentation. So let me show you. I had a couple use cases, so I wanted to show you. The first one was I wanted to find datetime inputs in our GraphQL mutations. So the background for this was that Omer was talking about working with datetimes in the backend and making sure that they were handling the datetimes correctly in the backend. But it made me think, oh, am I handling it correctly in the front end, or am I passing any datetimes from the front end to the back end? So I wanted to look for those cases. So we have this file, let me show it to you, this GraphQL schema file, and this is like the contract between the front end and the back end, and it has all the types for the responses that the back end sends to us, and it also has the types for when we send mutations, the input parameters that we send to them, and it shows all the types of the fields, and there's a bunch of date times in here. So I could search using rebase, which is also a great tool for date time in this file, and if I do that, I find a bunch of results. There's 147 of them, but most of these are in the output, the responses that I get back from the queries. But I only wanted to find the places where I was passing it from the front end to the back end, so the inputs. So I can use ast-grep for this, and let me find that. So this is the command I used. It's using the GraphQL language, and it has this rule to search for the regex datetime in this kind of input value definition. So let me just show you some of the options for this. So when I set up tree sitter, or I set up ast-grep with GraphQL, I had to use this tree sitter GraphQL library, and it has this grammar file, and it breaks up the code into these various pieces, and these are the pieces that you can use for the kind you can search only in these certain kinds here. So if I run this command now, I'm able to find just 4 cases where we're using datetime as an input. So I was pretty happy about that, and I could check those and make sure I was doing the right thing. And there's one more use case that I wanted to show. The background for this was that the backend team was upgrading their library, and we needed to rename all the GraphQL types to remove the type suffix. And I actually knew about ast-grep at this time, so I was kind of excited to try this out and see how this would work. So just to give some context, I mean, the string type is used quite a bit in our code base. I can show you a search for that. Again, using rebase here, I'm searching for this string type in these files, and I get a lot of results. Some of it is in variable names, some of it is in TypeScript types, some of them are actual GraphQL types that we want to rename. If we count them, we get about 2,200 occurrences of that. So I use this rule. This one looks pretty similar to the other one. It's searching only in GraphQL code for this regex ending in type and this kind being a name type. And just as a side note, let me just show you. Actually, just as a side note, ast-grep is able to search for languages embedded in other languages. So we have TypeScript files that have GraphQL language embedded inside it, and ast-grep is able to handle that, so that's pretty cool. So let me just show you running this. So this is using ast-grep with that rule on the left there and searching through our code base. And so here it finds all the GraphQL types ending in type, and it doesn't find any of those other places like variable names or TypeScript types. It's all GraphQL types. So that was pretty good. And my ultimate goal actually was to rename these types, and ast-grep is able to do that. It can do renaming. I saw a couple of examples where it was doing renaming for HTML and for JavaScript, but unfortunately for some reason I couldn't get it working for my GraphQL example, so I was a little sad about that. But a good thing is that ast-grep has a feature where it can output the results as JSON. So if you add this --JSON to the command, it'll spit it out as JSON, and it'll give you the text that it found and the file name and the line number, and then I just wrote a quick and dirty node script to do the replacement. So that's about it that I wanted to share about that.